Iowa Debris and Jennifer Lopez on talent.
Hello, you guys. Welcome back to the Cake Radio Show. I'm the CakeDive, and today, on the 13th episode of Vlogsmith, we're going to talk about Jackie Aina. So, for those who don't know who Jackie Aina is one of the black YouTubers, like one of the black influencers, mind you. Like, she was recognizable for being like the black influencer for the longest time. She was known as the beauty influencer for like a long time. Like she was up there with a lot of the influencers that like made that like a lot of people recognize and like even white space as well. But Jackie Ida was that girl, and she still is that girl. She still is making a lot of waves in the beauty industry, and it's had a lot of impact. And even for like black influencers who even aren't like in the beauty space, recognize Jackie Ida and are familiar with Jackie Ida. Like for me, like even though I'm not someone who like tunes into like beauty content like that for real, I was, growing up, I was always aware of Jackie Aina, and I've even seen a lot of Jackie Aina's content. And Jackie Aina is always put on other black influencers as well. Like you, like if Jackie Aina recognizes you, like she kind of like you're kind of the black influencer up next. And this situation that I'm like discussing here kind of started months ago, earlier this year, when there was drama that was circulating and people having conversations about whether Jackie Aina was blacking people who were congratulating her on being married, I believe. And a lot of people had a lot of think pieces on the situation. People were talking about like, oh, like Jackie Aina's wrong for that, or like some people were like, oh, like that does not sound like something that a normal person would do. And some people were also just like, oh, like it's Jackie Aina, like that's her social, like at the end of the day, that's her social media account. She obligated to do whatever the hell she wants to do when she does it, and that's just that on that. And we really didn't hear anything from Jackie Aina on that until recently, where about a 6 or 7 minute video came out on TikTok where she was basically talking about the situation. She detailed a lot of different things in detail, talked about how there were a few creators and influencers. I don't know what to call them because like I would say creators because they're not really influencing. I can't really say like I don't know because like they're not really influencing people. They did kind of influence people to like have a conversation about like, oh, like is Jackie Anna wrong for this and suggesting that Jackie Anna is blacking people, but like they're not really like influencing people to really like do anything compelling. Like it's not like Jackie Anna, in which like she has the power of getting people to buy in and support a beauty product or like purchase a beauty product or purchase certain items because she's used it, she's enjoyed it, or she's outright like recommended it and reviewed it. But these creators, TikTok posters, a blogger, same shit, were she was basically talking about how like a few of these, bloggers, a few of these creators, um, these posters on TikTok would be basically shading her. Like they were saying a lot of different like things about her that like made her feel uncomfortable, made her feel some type of way, as well as the fact that like they were the ones that were spreading the rumors that she was going around and blocking people who were saying congratulations to her for her wedding and engagement. And she discusses in detail like, oh, like how she feels that TikTok has this certain type of poster on it that is people who are creating content for like engagement farming and rage bait, people who are like trying to get people to be angry at certain influencers or certain creators or certain people and topics in general just because they want the views and the clicks and the engagement. And then she like talks about these creators like specifically without explicitly naming who they are, but like explicitly detailing like what they look like and describing them. And also like talking about how like the situations made her feel. She completely explained like, oh, like I did not block people for my engagement for saying congratulations, like that's stupid. And basically was detailing these things, but at the same time was also like, oh, like I don't want you guys going after, these creators and stuff like that, because that's not the space that I promote. And I have a couple thoughts on that, and I'm gonna keep it brief because this episode is about to drop like late as hell. Starters, Jackie Aina is absolutely correct when it comes to TikTok, and like not even just TikTok, but like the certain type of creator that there is, because there is a space of creators who are making content for like rage bait. They're making content for the engagement, for like having negative conversations about people and stuff like that. And TikTok, like it's something that exists on across all platforms. Like YouTubers are known for this. Like we can't remember the fact that like there's literally like drama alert that exists, and like there was like Leafy. Like we can't forget the 2016 Leafy is here era, where like people were literally trying to be edgy and like dragging like random people and random children just because of the fact that they could. And while that doesn't really, I feel like the thing about like these types of content that exist, like I feel like they don't go away, they just move and like manifest into different things. Like that's why the gambling era of like streaming and stuff like that happened like 2016 to like 2018 with like Logan Paul and what's them, that was happening, is still happening, but instead of it happening on like YouTube and other platforms like Twitch, it's now moved over to stuff like Kick. Same thing with the like the rage bait content and stuff like that. Like there is a small pocket of like rage bait content, clickbait content that still exists on YouTube, because trust, that still gets engagement. But the majority of that has moved on to TikTok because of the type of platform and algorithm that platform has. With YouTube, while I feel like clickbait and stuff, like it still exists, but it's definitely been a little bit more deprioritized compared to what it's been in the past, as well as like rage bait and stuff like that. Because I feel like nowadays on YouTube, I think people treat YouTube differently than how they treat TikTok. Like YouTube, most people aren't looking for like YouTube content for like rage bait stuff. Like they're looking to be like informed or to be entertained or both, and to like have some enjoyment with that. They're not really trying to be like angry. If they are angry, they want a call to action. And the conversations around topics that are discussed on YouTube are completely different than what it is on TikTok. Usually because like with YouTube, I feel like a lot of people who comment on YouTube videos put a little bit more thought in the comments, or they don't comment at all. Like a big example of this for me that I've experienced directly was the Normani series. And even just like not even the Normani series, like even videos in which like I had an opposing opinion compared to like stans or like fans of certain groups. Because I remember this happened with like the Katy Perry video and the Chloe and Halle solo music video. Like there were always going to be like there will be people who will step in and be like, oh, like I just don't agree with your opinion. But with like the Chloe and Halle solo music video and like the dopamine video, instead of it being like stans being like, oh, like you're wrong and like you're a flop, da 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 da, or like what type thing that like you usually expect, or like weird, just like random, like brief comments that are just like inciting hate or like negative and stuff like that. It was usually people who like if they did disagree, because some people did agree with me or like agree with certain my points. It was very healthy conversations. It was usually people who being like, oh, like I see where you're coming from and like this is how I feel on it, or like, yes, I agree with you completely, this is my thoughts on it, or ooh, I'm not really seeing it, like I don't really agree with you, and like this is how I feel on it. And it's like healthy, it's very natural, like people having a conversation, because I feel like the barrier to entry for people to like talk on, to like comment on YouTube is, feels like for some people looking at it is a little bit greater compared to TikTok, where with TikTok it is very, like I think is very easy for people to start just typing and commenting on stuff because of the frequency of videos that, and like access to videos and access to these creators, and how like very easy it is to just like drop a comment and keep pushing. and like and do it with no thought. YouTube requires a little bit more thought to it, whereas TikTok doesn't. And with the cycle of the algorithm between the both platforms, it's also very different as well. With YouTube, there are like flash in the pan videos in which like, oh, like there's a creator that might like explode with one video, and then like the next video they like don't get that, you know, that viewership. Trust me, I know. But it's also a little bit like less frequent. Like usually if there's a YouTuber who like explodes in viewership, like they are usually, you know, they usually are able to get on the rise and have a little bit of consistency. And but even when they're done, or like they take a break from content, or like some content isn't really giving the viewership that they used to have, they can pivot or like bring something out of the woodworks or push something with a little bit more consistency to like motivate the algorithm to give them more viewership. So like usually like it's very, I feel like it's very unnormal. Like it's very like abnormal for YouTube creators to really like flop. Like trust me, there's still small creators that exist, but usually inconsistency can exist more with YouTubers, both with videos and the type of videos that there are, and like the viewership can be consistent compared to TikTok, where if you like, you can have a flash in the pan type vibe. Video can explode and do like 1 million views, 100,000 views, stuff like that, and then your next video is going to do like 10 views. Like it is never consistent. And if you're doing content like, you know, pop culture content and stuff like, or like just influencer content, news like that, a lot of people who want to keep it popping and keep their like, I guess, quote unquote longevity on the platform, even though let's be honest, TikTok is about to be banned in the United States, so we don't know how long it's gonna have left. The like you kind of have to keep engaging in the type of content that you're engaging. So if it's rage bait, like you have to always do rage bait, and that's just kind of the vibes of it. Now that being said, Jackie Aina most definitely is trying to get her like revenge on these girls, and like trying to get people to, you know, turn on them and be like, hey, like you was cutting up, like this is a little ridiculous. And like I get it, you know, humans are naturally, you know, we naturally want to get revenge on people who wrong us, because like we want our lick back. Because like how are you gonna do us dirty and just think that we're just gonna be nice and keep it pushing? Trust me, I get it. And she was able to do it in a way that felt a little bit like, some people felt a little bit like some people were immediately able to pick it up like, ooh, like you trying to do some shady, Jackie. But others, like it was done in a cute way in which like a lot of people probably wouldn't have thought about like her trying to like set these girls up or try to get her lick back on these girls. Like a lot of people were probably just like, oh, like she's keeping it cute, stuff like that. She is keeping it cute, but she's moving in a certain type of way, yo. Like I don't know, like. And again, with the situation, like I think that even though it doesn't really like, well, because at the end of the day, we're gonna keep spinning. We still gonna watch Jackie Aina, and I'll probably still gonna watch them other girls as well. Like this doesn't really impact either of us at the end of the day. Like people gonna remember this and laugh, no shade. But like, it's very interesting that like she waited as long as she did. It was just like, oh, like this is how I feel about it, and like I'm not telling y'all to attack these girls because I don't promote that, but people are probably gonna be dragging these girls. Do I feel bad for these girls? I don't know, because I have not seen the videos that they posted, so I don't know how serious it is. And like at the end of the day, like I don't really promote no dragging or nothing like that for real. But I think what they was doing about saying that Jackie Aina was blocking people was like, now Jackie Aina do be blocking some people, like don't get me wrong, but saying that she's gonna block people because of like congratulating them on like for their engagement for the wedding or whatever, that's kind of weird. But that's my thoughts on this. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode of the Cake Radio Show. Tune in tomorrow for the 14th episode of Vlogsmiths, potentially, if I keep this up, because I'm like running out of topics. You'll be sure to like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, because you get episodes before anyone else. Be sure to follow, turn on notifications, and share the podcast around, especially if you're listening to this on YouTube or your favorite podcast platforms. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Bye-bye.